Hey guys, welcome back to Kal-El Soups 808, and in today's video, something a little bit different. We're going to be discussing why Bloodsport the movie is perfect. And I know, this is usually a statues and collectibles channel, but you know what? It's my channel, so do what I want, bitches. But guys, I just wanted to switch it up a little bit. As some of you guys might know, I recently covered the Bloodsport Frank Dukes and Chong Li statues. And so feel free to check out my review on those guys. I'll put a card in the corner here. But I'm a massive Bloodsport fan. It's easily my most watched movie of all time. I'm not exaggerating, I must have seen it in the three figures, so well over 100 times. Because when I was a kid, it was one of those things that I used to kind of like watch it on VHS, then I'd rewind it, and then I'd watch it all the way again. And I did that day after day after day as a kid. And still to this day, when I've had a couple of drinks at night and I don't want to think about a complicated plot line on a movie, I just want some nice easy popcorn viewing, I'll throw a Bloodsport on. And the reason I'm doing this is, well, first of all, I just love Bloodsport and I just feel like it. But also, Honest Trailers recently did their Honest trailer of Bloodsport, and that was hilarious. And they acknowledged that it was awesome.
From Canon, the studio behind the Breakin' franchise, the Courtney Cox He-Man movie, and the Ninja Cinematic Extended Universe, comes a film based on the completely made-up fantasy of a con artist named Frank Dukes, and it's f***ing awesome.
But they also pointed out what they consider to be tongue-in-cheek, some kind of flaws. Well, I'm going to prove them wrong. That movie is perfect. But before we get into it, guys, if you enjoy content like this, if you love Bloodsport, if you like my channel in general, just like this video. I really appreciate it. And also comment below, let me know if I should do more kind of stuff like this, or just stick to what I know best, which is collectibles. Let me know in the comments. So make sure you are subscribed. And without further ado, let's get into it. And you know, it's not just the guys over at Screen Junkies and Honest Trailers and myself that love Bloodsport so much. It's got a massive cult following. Like back in the day, I don't remember it being so popular, but it was just a movie that I loved. But now it's getting pretty popular. It even gets mentions on things like Cobra Kai, and we all know how successful that show is.
Man, I'm feeling this movie, man. And this is Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Oh, and it's Donald Trump's favorite movie. So I could literally talk all day about Bloodsport and how awesome it is, but for the purposes of this video, you got shit to do. I'm going to try and keep this as brief as I can. Visually, it's beautiful. Like, it's got that typical cheesy 80s feel. The characters, just the way it's shot, it's all very colorful and beautiful. Like, in a lot of the martial arts movies and just movies in general, action movies that have followed since then, you have things like filtering. So like when you look at The Matrix, for example, it all seems very green, very dark and green. It has like filters to make it look that way. Michael Bay movies have like a orangey kind of filter, like a lens. So it kind of like looks a certain way. This was filmed, you know, pretty naturally with natural colors. It had that typical 80s feel. The characters, I mentioned the characters were colorful. All the fighters, they put a good amount of care and time into all the different fighting styles and all the different characters of all the different martial artists in the tournaments, in the Kumite. And it just reminds me of like Street Fighter. You know, you've got like your typical martial arts guys like Ryu and Ken, and you've got those kind of guys in that movie with the gis and the black belts. And then you've got other guys like in Street Fighter, you've got Blanka, who's a bit of a monster, and he has like, you know, he fights in a certain way and he's all crouched down and stuff. Well, in the Kumite we had the monkey man that was like jumping up on trees and like cutting coconuts with his hands and stuff like that. We had the sumo, which you've got to think was the inspiration for E-Honda in Street Fighter. I mean, come on. Right. Speaking of video games, this is another reason why Bloodsport is so awesome. It inspired Mortal Kombat. It's well documented. Mortal Kombat, like Johnny Cage, was based on Van Damme with the whole split punch in the groin thing, the finishing move that he has.
Inspired the entire Mortal Kombat franchise when the rights to Jean-Claude's likeness fell through.
Man, I'm feeling this movie, man. And this is Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah, that was all based on Frank Dux.
Not you.
Van Damme's Frank Dux. And you can see that, it's very, very clear, well documented. The fact that Mortal Kombat was the first video games fighting game that I know of, one-on-one tournaments like Kumite with Bloodsport, right? Like it's very, very obvious that Mortal Kombat drew great inspiration from Bloodsport, very obvious, and it's well documented. And Mortal Kombat is still just as popular, if not more popular today. So we'll talk about things going full circle, right? And I like to think like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter are two of my favorite video games of all time. You know I love Street Fighter. I've got a whole bunch of Street Fighter statues from PCS. I've done a video on that as well, check that out. But yeah, I truly believe in my heart of hearts that Bloodsport was a major inspiration to those video games which we all know and love. So we've talked about visuals, so now we'll talk about the music. The music in that show, in that movie, the score is just phenomenal. Like to this day, like when I go to the gym and I work out, a lot of people have the Rocky soundtrack in their ears and some other kind of heavy metal. I don't. I have the Bloodsport soundtrack because the Bloodsport soundtrack is just so uplifting and inspirational and really gets the juices flowing. Like that music by Paul Herzog, just phenomenal score. Like it doesn't get much better than that. And one of the things about that score is you can tell who's fighting based on the pitch of the music. When Frank Dux, the good guy, is fighting, like the music is very, very kind of like high and uplifting. And then when it goes on to like a bad guy, like a Paco or you know, the sumo guy, I forget his name now, or Chong Li, the main bad guy, it kind of has like an ominous tone. And so even if you don't listen to any dialogue in the movie, you know who's the good guy and the bad guy just by listening to the music. Talking of them like making good guys and bad guys in the martial arts tournament so you actually give a crap who wins, they do a great job of going to each one of like Frank Dux' opponents and giving them all a little bit of something, a little bit of a villainous edge.
You come upstairs with me for an interview.
Like hell, let go of me.
You want to say no?
No, Hussein is an asshole.
What did you call me?
You want me to spell it out for you?
Then you've got Paco, the Muay Thai guy, who sucks Frank Dux in, like saying, come on, touch hands, whatever, and then he hits him with a cheap shot. Naughty. Like, just lovely little touches like that. Really make you know who the good guy is and the bad guy is, and really makes you want to root for the good guy. And you know, people talk about Rocky being an inspirational movie, and it is. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Like the first two Rocky movies, unbelievable. And you know what, it opened a lot of people's eyes to the sport of boxing, and I would argue that a lot of the current professional boxers today were inspired to do what they do because of Rocky. The same thing goes, I think, for Bloodsport and martial arts. Not just Bloodsport, because there were lots of other great martial arts movies that followed, like again with Van Damme, Kickboxer, and you know, there was like Best of the Best, Karate Kid even. Inspired people to take up martial arts. Bloodsport was a major contributor to me taking up martial arts. I started studying traditional Japanese jiu-jitsu at an early age, did that for many years. Then I tried my hand at Shotokan Karate. I've done a little bit of Taekwondo. And now I'm actually thinking of getting into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu because I've not done anything for a little while and I need something to kind of like keep me fit again. So I might do that. But so inspirational. when I was participating in jiu-jitsu when I was a kid, I ended up in an open styles martial arts tournament, which I won 3rd place.
If you ain't first, you're last.
If you ain't first.
All I could think of the whole time I was in that tournament, I had Bloodsport music going through my head. I thought it was Frank Dukes.
Not you.
Right, but I was about like 14, 15. I was a kid, so give me a break. So it inspired me. I believe, as I've mentioned, it inspired video games. I believe the idea of the kumite in Bloodsport is really the kind of thing that opened people's eyes to what that might look like, an open styles mixed martial arts full contact tournament. I believe that kind of idea opened the way for MMA today. And you know, MMA, I would argue it's as popular, if not more popular than boxing today. Like UFC is gigantic, and then we've got like Bellator and Pride. Mixed martial arts is huge today. And again, I reckon, I could be wrong, but I truly believe that was inspired by the kumite, which was brought to life by Bloodsport and brought into the public eye. So yeah, Bloodsport, man. So in Honest Trailers, they kind of make fun of the acting a little bit, and although I will acknowledge that not all the acting in this is like Oscar worthy.
I wasn't going to steal it. You're not gonna call the cops?
That's kind of what adds to the charm a little bit. That cheesy kind of 80s low budget acting was kind of cool. Like I like that. And it really adds something to the movie for me. It's funny. But we did get Forrest Whitaker in there, right? And he went on to do frickin' amazing things. So that's kind of cool that was one of Forrest Whitaker's first roles in Bloodsport. But then the premise of the movie as well. The movie was written and directed, I believe, by Sheldon Lettich. Now, Sheldon Lettich is a bit of a legend when it comes to like the old school martial arts movies. Like he had a hand in another 2 Jean-Claude Van Damme absolute classics. Arguably his 3 best movies of all time. So Bloodsport, Lionheart and Double Impact. Unbelievable action movies. By the way, if you want to see a really good interview with Sheldon Lettich and learn a bit more about his career and Van Damme and Van Damme's movies, etc., and what it was like working with him, check out the YouTube channel Viking Samurai. The guy that runs it is probably a bigger Bloodsport fan than I am, and that's saying something. Like most of his channels are dedicated to Bloodsport and the story of Frank Dukes, which we won't get into there right now because everybody knows the story of Frank Dukes, right? And that he may or may not have been completely truthful with his accomplishments, but also apparently he will drop a lawsuit at the blink of an eye. And I don't want to get sued by Frank Dukes. So Frank, I'm not saying you're a liar. I'm just saying a lot of people are saying that.
Comes a film based on the completely made-up fantasy of a con artist named Frank Dukes. And it's awesome. This is exactly how I lie about myself too.
But yeah, check out Viking Samurai on YouTube. He's got a fantastic channel. I'm addicted to it. There's so much, not only on Bloodsport, but on a lot of martial arts movies and you know, martial arts world kind of stuff. And he interviews some great people like Scott Adkins and a whole bunch of others. So check out Viking Samurai. But yeah, Sheldon Lettich, the way he wrote it was a very simple premise. So it's a martial arts tournament, an underground, illegal, hidden tournament, which Honest Trailers rightly points out everyone seems to know about it.
Journey to Hong Kong, home of the top secret underground fighting tournament known as the Kumite.
Tomorrow, we leave for the Kumite.
I heard you can get killed at that Kumite.
Like I said, a top secret...
You two are here for the Kumite, aren't you?
Why is it that no one will talk about the Kumite?
And you can see me fight at the Kumite.
I'm here too for the Kumite.
A top secret underground...
This is the biggest Kumite ever.
We all know that the Kumite is happening here in Hong Kong.
Kumite Express leaves in 5 minutes.
A top secret underground...
Someday, I'll fight in the Kumite and make my father proud.
Okay, forget it. A well-known fighting tournament with its own event staff, flag team, and co-sponsors.
But it's a secret underground tournament that no one's supposed to know about. And the guy, Frank Dukes, enters it for no other reason than to prove his worth and honor his mentor. Such a very simple storyline. Shit happens like in between. But there's something really beautiful about that. We didn't need overly complicated plot twists. Like I said, it's not one of those that you know, you need a degree to understand or anything like that. It's just a very simple, very easy to watch movie with fantastic action and fantastic music. And it just has that feel, like that typical 80s cheesy feel, which, oh man, I love it. And then finally, the fighting, the action. So there was none of this wire fighting. That was way before The Matrix, way before Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Any of that, like these were legitimate martial artists that were shown as competing in this tournament, and it displayed different styles and really made you curious about how one would learn, you know, that particular style, and really opened up the imagination. And like I said, Van Damme, real martial artist, guys. Like, I mean, people will say he isn't, but I'll fight you on that one, because he was. I don't know that he was a world champion, but he has lots of point fighting matches on record. So yeah, like, is that fighting? Maybe not, but like, he was a legitimate martial artist. And those kicks he did were some of the most beautiful kicks ever. Like, his on-screen fighting was just, I thought, was great. He had such a great presence. Jean-Claude Van Damme for me would be on my Mount Rushmore of action stars, along with the likes of Arnold and Sylvester Stallone. Like, loved the guy. Yeah, he had his issues, but frick, did he ever have some screen presence? And oh my god, did he ever do some great movies, like in the late 80s and early 90s. Like, I love me some Van Damme. But yeah, it was genuine skill, and he was doing all of that, right? Like, so it wasn't a stunt double doing Van Damme's kicks for him. He was doing all that, and it just looked so great. It looked, I don't want to say authentic, but kind of authentic in a way. Like, so a lot of those kicks and stuff are like the movie kicks, right? The things done for show. And in a real combat situation, a lot of them wouldn't be great, but it's a movie, so you have to suspend disbelief a little bit. But I've seen in person and been involved in fights, like actual fights. And like, most fights are not pretty.
Get up in the head. Oh, yeah.
Outside of you know, a controlled martial arts tournament, most fights, if you end up on the ground like wrestling around with them, they're not pretty to watch. It's like if wrestling was real, if the WWE wrestling was real.
Standard question. I think it's fake. You think it's fake? What's that? Is that fake? Huh? What the hell's wrong with you? That's open hand slap, huh? You think it's fake? Huh?
It wouldn't look that great. It probably wouldn't have as big of a following as it does, because it'd just be two dudes sweating it out, grappling on the ground. That's not very attractive to see. That's why they do all these flips and these funky moves, and they tell a story within the ring. Same thing in the movie world, right? But Bloodsport, I think, did it in a way that no others have done. Like, it did it in a really beautiful way. Told a great story, and some of those kicks look actually legitimate, right? Like, so there's a scene where Van Damme is fighting Paco, this cocky ass Muay Thai guy, and there's a bit where they're exchanging kicks, and Van Damme's saying, "Come on, go, kick me," and then they're kicking each other, and you can see the sweat like firing off them in slow motion. So they're actually kicking each other on the lat underneath there. Which is kind of cool. So a lot of it does look legit. If you haven't seen Bloodsport, you need to go watch it, but watch it with an open mind.
Keep an open mind.
And through the eyes of a kid in the 80s. It's phenomenal. Like, there's a reason why it's the most watched movie of all time for me, why I'm in the three figures, and we'll continue to watch it repeatedly on a regular basis. It's freaking phenomenal. It's just a good, feel-good movie. Uplifting, kind of like Rocky, with the nice inspirational music, the good versus bad. Yeah, awesome. Anyway, guys, like I said, I could go on all day about Bloodsport. I love it so much. What do you think? Are you a Bloodsport fan like I am? And am I wrong in anything I'm saying? Comment below. If you like content like this, again, hit that like button if you haven't already. And let me know in the comments below whether you want me to carry on doing content like this or whether I should just stick to statues and collectibles. But I thought this would be a fun little thing to do that's a little bit different because I'm such a fan, and like I said, I was inspired by the Honest trailers. So guys, make sure you are subscribed to the channel so you don't miss out on any future content. Let me know what you think. Hit that like if you haven't already, and I'll catch you in the next video.